Mike, you seem like such an agreeable guy. You seem like a very upbeat guy. Is it really never Biden? Or
Oh, 100%.
wow,
There's a lot behind it. You saw all the things I sent you, right? In the comment section.
Oh yeah. The comment section of me going bananas on you guys, which is what I've been doing for the 15 days. So I call you guys, Trump electors. You guys are electing Trumps, or what I say is, you guys are machines that are electing Trump. Why do you want to do that?
Well, we'll have to agree to disagree on that one. But the fact is that a vote for Biden is really truly the vote for Trump, because Biden is unelectable. He has the cognitive decline issue, which Cory Booker has brought up, and people within the actual establishment have brought up. Not to mention all I sent you the record recordings of him and his issues, and then the fact that it was all another the Stop Bernie movement that Obama led as well.
Right.
So it's made me lose complete confidence in the Democratic Party and the primary system, and that's why I'm actually now part of the movement for People's Party.
And what is the People's Party?
Well, that one is actually now a merging of Our Revolution and the People's Party, which is same values as the Our Revolution, and our main leader of Our Revolution is Nina Turner, and she's now officially joined.
Oh, cool! So there's something called Our Revolution.
Oh yeah, she's the head of Our Revolution, which is Bernie's movement.
Right.
And that's separate from Bernie's campaign.
Well, I'm learning more about this, and I really would like to learn more. Her name is Nina Hooper?
Turner. Yeah, she's amazing. She's a former senator of Ohio.
Wow, Nina Turner. And is she like a Bernie?
She's on fire.
Is she Sanders' sister? Is she never Biden?
Oh, she's like the original Sanders. Like the head of them all. She's the queen, no doubt. She's absolutely. Sorry, my eyes like watering. I always got something in it. But Nina Turner is absolutely amazing.
Right. So let me just ask you something. Biden was part of a team that brought healthcare to 30 million Americans. He's talking about expanding Obamacare. In his campaign, he's mentioning he wants to do an FDR-type presidency. He's mentioning $2,000 a week for people right out of Bernie, and he's talking about rent forgiveness. Does not affect you at all compared to the current president, who's saying that Obama is this great criminal suddenly because...
Well, talk is a lot different than actual action, and there's always been a lot of false promises. And the fact remains that he is unfit for office cognitively. He specifically has not had a cognitive test in the Washington Post. He's had all of the other tests. So that's something that's like mandatory. And even former Clinton advisor said that needed to happen. You have calls all around the world from Japan Times saying that Biden should withdraw from dementia. Comcast owns a network called Sky News that covers New Zealand and Australia. They, are been presenting all the gas-lamping that's been done of American people and the media, inspiring, and so it's very sad when you're in the bubble.
What's that?
It's very sad for the people that are in the bubble and can't see what's being done to them, but the world can, because they see, they see,
Right, who's in the bubble? Who's in the bubble? What do you mean by that? Who are the people that are in the bubble?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Who are the people that are in the bubble? The people that
live in America that are part of the Democratic Party that only listen to corporate media.
And is that such a big deal? I mean, do you look at someone
with a lot of
Maddow is like Rachel Maddow is controlled by corporations? Is that true?
Well, I can't say for sure because I never actually researched it for her.
Right.
But, I know others for sure are, and I know that the media has a lot of control of what the actual anchors on TV say.
Right.
Don't say.
It seems more and more like we're being agendized. I mean, I really, Fox seems like it's conservative, MSNBC seems like it's liberal, and it seems like it's it's not objective as it once was, and that's very hard. but I think that there's certain parts that are less objective. But I see a huge difference between the two candidates, Biden and Trump, and I think Trump is so terrible. And I think that in order to beat Trump, you need everybody that you can get to, and particularly the Bernie people, to say, okay, this will be better for the revolution. We get this guy in. He can't speak. So, bingo. we're way ahead. In all seriousness, you have someone that at least seems to not be completely committed to greed. Yeah, at least that's what it seems like. Can't that be a better starting point than with Trump as president? Aren't those 4 more years a little too more costly?
Well, Biden's not the nominee yet.
Right.
And Biden, he needs, I think, what is it, 50, it's almost like a 50-50 of the Democratic Party thinking that he should drop out or not.
Right.
Because of Tara Reid, credible allegations. And then, once again, he needs to have a cognitive test done. He's, it's more every time he's on TV, there's an example, and then he stays in hiding, and he's not, stepping up as actual, leader of, trying to help during this pandemic. He's just, as Justin said, a puppet right now that's being pushed, and the fact is that you brought up to Justin about, Super Tuesday, and, he crushed it and stuff. The consolidation that happened and that Obama orchestrated, and then Clyburn decided to endorse. And then that morning I heard on MSNBC that Obama let a note out telling everybody to vote for it, and then retracted the note, and just to do it as a leak to his support of Biden. So that is conspiring, and that is election meddling of a former president. Yeah. And that's putting his finger on the scale, and it happened again in 2016. And if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same results, and you got to break the insanity. And just Lawrence O'Donnell said in one of his segments from the 90s is the Democratic Party feels that they have the left, they own the left, that they can do whatever they want, and the left has to vote for them. And, not with our generation. we're ready to break all of that and to start anew, because, the boomer generation decided. Well, the other thing, too, is there's a lot of question, too, of election fraud. And, I've lost complete confidence in the accuracy of the actual election. I mean, think about Ohio. The shadow app that was provided to do the election was Clinton company.
Right.
Why is Hillary Clinton's company being affiliated with, a state election that has a whole bunch of inconsistency, and the person that did it, that was head of the Democratic Party for that, resigned because of the shadiness, and could, answering questions like, oh, can we do, just, because of the shadiness that happened, he had to resign. And there's a lot of good video clips of that.
Now, Ohio has been known to have a lot of election fraud, something that came against Curry in 2004. Did you feel that there was are there exit polls in certain key states? I know that some Bernie people are saying this.
I agree. Yeah, but the thing is, I do know that there is a difference. There is a slight difference in variation sometimes, but when it's of a certain percentile, it needs to be addressed. And like I said, I do not have any confidence in the election process anymore with the Democratic Party, which is why, that's a sign that we need to start moving to another party. But I do like Justice Democrats.
So let me ask you a question, because you brought up a phrase that a lot of us use, that doing the same thing over and over again is insanity. I see so many people that are progressive that want to pull away from a Democrat and then often have a Republican win, and it is the same thing, and it is insanity. Joe Stein, Ralph Nader, these guys did this over and over again. And, you had, we can't always have Democrats, but, you had George Bush over Al Gore, and Al Gore was the most environmentally sound presidential candidate in history. And that happened through Ralph Nader running. So you don't see it as very important in a moment-to-moment basis without, you may resent the Democratic Party, but at least to just beat this guy, to just beat the current president.
No, because it once again gives them control. And if there's once again, Biden's not the nominee, and Biden should drop out, and that shouldn't even become the situation. And that's where I stand, and I'm not moving on that, and that's something I'm going to continue advocating for. And I know the movement for it is growing, especially as more and more comes out, and the fact that Biden won't release the Senate files or even let somebody do a search for her name,
Right.
that's really incriminating. That's her name.
I don't understand what you mean there. Whose name would he allow?
You didn't see the Mika Brzezinski interview?
No.
Well, one of the questions she asked was his Senate files that are being stored at the University of Delaware, if he could release them and have full transparency for searching for the complaint that Tara Reid filed back in the 90s.
Right.
And he said no. And so she tried to compromise and said, well, how about we just search for just the Tara Reid's name solely in those files?
Right.
And he said no. And he
both these things?
Yeah, so he won't even allow a search for her name in his files. What does that tell you?
That's rough.
So, I mean,
well, let me ask you a couple of questions that I asked. Justin. I asked Justin. It's November 1st, and it's Biden and his vice president, the candidate. And let's say that it's Michelle Obama or it's Kamala Harris. Are you not going to vote for those guys? Or is that what's going to happen? You're going to put your vote somewhere else?
Well, not you guys, but the Democratic Party establishment and some elitists have already, there's been articles about it, about how they plan how they have ideas of swapping out Biden for somebody else for the nomination.
Right.
So, if the leaders of the DNC can't even don't have confidence in Biden and are planning to switch out and completely overturn any type of democracy that's left, and then not to mention there was a lot of fascist type things where you can't criticize the other opponents in the Democratic Party, and if you do, then you start getting shamed saying you're like Trump and all this, and that's not how you grow. You gotta what you do to grow is this, and you understand both sides of the argument, because nothing's absolute.
Well, I agree with you that you have the right to attack Biden and say he should be switched out until a certain point. When he's nominated by the party, that would be the point where I would say that it's going to be very hard to remove him from that unless there's a health thing. When you have guys that are 78, someone who's like, I know that I can talk for an hour and a half without falling over. I don't know if that's true. So, when you get guys to 78, things can be very difficult. And so that's a thing. But, once you're campaigning against that guy after the nomination, it's pro-Trump. It is actually pro-Trump at that time. That has to be.
Yeah, but we're not there yet.
I understand. So a question that I asked Justin, which was, what would get you to go over to Biden, or if they switched to Cuomo, who I can't stand? And
God, no.
Yeah.
Not Cuomo.
You want to know something? I would vote for Cuomo over Trump.
He's corrupt.
Yeah, he's horrifying.
Didn't he break down the corruption team in New York, and he also cut Medicaid during the pandemic, and he's not for the people.
Right. He did. He had a problem with Medicaid. The big thing with Cuomo was the bridge. So he wanted to build. We had a $4 billion surplus. He wanted to build a bridge. He built it. He said he was going to do it with the surplus. He had to sell bonds. He did all this other money raising for the bridge. It's very hard to know what the final price was. He called it the Mario Cuomo Bridge. It looked like a personal thing. It was very
most definitely. That is narcissistic. That's like Trump. let me put my name on it.
Yeah.
Instead of honoring somebody that was like a historical figure of New York.
His father, he was very bullying, and Chris Cuomo was like, our father would rather die than have this bridge named after him. Very fascinating moment in New York politics. But returning to the question, is there something that, let's say Biden is the nominee, is there something that Biden can do to get you in, to get you to vote for him?
I think that, well, no, but my plan would be to advocate down ticket. So
So what do you mean by advocate down ticket? You'd be advocating for smaller,
as much of like taking back the Senate and the House and all that.
and you'd be comfortable with the Senate House getting more in there.
I wouldn't. Well, the thing is too, I wouldn't. Like you were saying, I wouldn't be still doing the campaigning against Biden like I'm doing right now for awareness.
Yeah, you're
what I'm doing
big on that.
to make people aware before everything's final, and the last nails in the coffin here. So but at that point, I'm not going to advocate for Trump anyway. So what I would be doing is I'm only going to I'll be focusing my energies on down ticket. Taking out McConnell and Susan Collins and all the other Lindsey Graham, all the other people.
So all right, so you just won't pull that trigger for Biden, under any circumstance.
Nope.
Not even with progressives, Mike?
There's no way that's even a possibility.
Right.
So no.
Okay. So if he declares a whole bunch of progressive vision, it would not work out for you with that. How do you think we get to universal health care?
We'd have to have Bernie Sanders as a VP. That would be the only thing.
Bernie Sanders, a VP. Okay. Next question for you.
Yep.
It's a big question. How do we get to universal health care in the United States of America? I'm going to ask every Bernie bro and every Sanders sister this question.
Well, I think we're almost there, in my opinion. Well, I mean, if you think about it, on the news and in news articles, they're saying, "Oh, we need an FDR style," and now Biden's like, "I'm going to be the next FDR," and people don't have insurance now. The whole argument before was, if you like your insurance, you get to keep it. Well, now they don't have insurance, so now they don't like what's happening. And the representatives are going to have to listen to them, whether they're... are you still there?
Yeah. You frozen. You frozen? Yeah, you frozen.
Let me try to log back in.
I'm hearing you.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay.
So where was I?
We were talking about what it would mean. What does Medicare for all mean? How do we get to universal health care in the United States? I mean, what is your take on what Bernie was proposing? First of all, he was proposing.
Okay, well, the greed the greed is what's causing a lot of the issues in the system itself, and prevent Medicare for all is very reachable once you eliminate the profit gouging that's been happening.
Right.
So it's just like you have people that are dying because they can't get the treatments they need.
Right.
People that and the other thing too is a lot of times they have that idea of wanting to pharmaceutical making customers, not making cures.
Right.
And every medicine gives you a side effect. Now, but Medicare for all gives you the possibility to get what you need to be healthy at no additional cost out of pocket, right. And you pay for it through that additional. I don't know if they tax, but I don't know if they actually consider it a tax, but the additional what you have to pay into Medicare for all, kind of like how you have to pay into Social Security.
Right.
But the thing is too, the movement is towards that because how many people are unemployed right now? 30 million?
Yeah, how many people are unemployed? I think it's gone up a lot. I couldn't give you a number, but
So I bet you at least 30 million people want it.
Right.
And it's going to keep going up as people, not everybody, but as people become unemployed. And that's not even including the people that are already for it to begin with. So they're starting to see the light now that they are in that situation.
Now there's something that's interesting because you brought something up. You're sort of a member of and a leader of the Stop Biden movement. And what is that movement like? What is it? What is it? I mean, is there an actual movement? I mean, of people that are, and this happens. This is
it is 100% is, and it is about just sharing awareness. All you need to share is the facts. And there's that saying about once you let the truth out, the truth will take care of itself.
Right.
So it's about just coming awareness and disseminating information, and just like with the Tara Reid thing, progressives had to plug away, getting the corporate media to finally address it. And that was very, very corrupt and of the liberal media and establishment, how they forced Bernie out. And then finally talked about the sex allegations. And then, the sex allegations happened back in 2019 in March. And the Me Too movement wouldn't accept her, as somebody they would help.
Well,
they would help out.
Known to be very corrupt. She's known to do a lot of corrupt things. There's like a line of like 100 people saying this is a opportunist. This is not the best person.
Tara Reid?
Yeah, there's a lot.
I think. Well, here's some arguments for you. First, her mom called in.
Yeah.
To Larry King, talking about her issue that her daughter had with the senator,
right,
and how should they proceed. In 1996, 3 years afterwards, in a court document, her husband released that information as well in his divorce files, explaining that was part of her being messed up in the head was from that sexual assault.
Right.
And then there's much more things that have happened, corroborated. Well, her neighbors, her brother, those are just off the top of my head. But the first two alone are enough to know it's a serious thing. And then on top of the fact, you have Biden saying that you can't search my files for her name. Well, why? If you answer that question, then you have the answer.
All right. So I guess one other thing that I'd love to ask is, this thing, income equity, equality, and universal health care is a huge tug of war. And when we have a president like Trump, the tug of war genuinely goes in the other direction. You think that there's this undercurrent, but the undercurrent is not may not be able to get it done. How do we get to income equality in this country? How do we support what Bernie is doing? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, a lot of our answers are actually in the past, within the past, or the presidents that were in the beginning of the 20th century.
Right.
You have Eisenhower, that was in what was this, 60s?
He was in the 50s.
50s. So Eisenhower had the highest tax rate on the wealthy. What was it, 90%?
Yes, right. Yeah,
and it was Reagan that released the bull and became friends to all the corporations.
Right.
So we just need to go back to Eisenhower policies, it's not really that radical.
What do you think about my philosophy of inspiring the wealthy to do 100% better than they've done in the past?
How to inspire them?
Yeah. What do you think? How would that be done?
Well, we need to get rid of the corporate Democrats and the corporate lobbyists and the corporate Republicans, and that is a major part of it because of the the lobby just ties to the corporations, and they're always going to have advocates in the government to protect them in the laws and protect them from increasing those taxes.
So the real question is, those people seem to be in place. How do we inspire less forced activity, but more inspired activity, so that the wealthy really are doing 100 times more for people, for the 99%?
Well, they don't. How many? I don't know off the top of my head, but how many of Fortune 500 companies don't pay taxes? So that's a good place to start. And then how many millionaires and billionaires have tax havens or funds and tax havens. So you got to look at all that, and then and then we have a system that's not socialism, but it's corporatism and social. And instead of being for the people, or for and by the people, it's thinking of humans as corporations and giving them corporate welfare and giving them subsidies, and that shouldn't be going to them. If you believe in capitalism, you let capitalism run, and if you sink, then you sink, and something will rise from your ashes. Isn't that capitalism?
But what if that doesn't happen? And what really?
Oh, it will happen. There's always a replacement thing.
Capitalism never dies, but individual rights and individual protections become greater. For instance, in this last thing, we saw a lot of corporate bailout, and the individuals getting very little in this crisis. The unemployed individuals getting very little. So we want to see more. I am sure we agree. We want to see more initiatives towards individuals, and certainly less initiatives completely towards corporations.
And then the other thing too is you brought up inequality, and as Justin was mentioning, I don't know if you read the article about the fleecing America, about how Obama did the greatest transfer of wealth to the 1% during his presidency with that the bailout of Wall Street.
Well, the bailout was $800 billion, and why was this the greatest transfer of wealth to the wealthy? I mean, that was to keep.
Historically is.
Yeah. I mean,
so that was a Democratic president that transferred the wealth, and it helps out his his buddies who are the Goldman Sachs and all those other ones that have their hands on everybody, including the Treasury, right?
So how do we get Goldman Sachs to act dramatically for the people? Is that possible without government, but dramatically, effectively for the people?
Get rid of all the people at the top.
The people have to not put their money in banks and put them into credit unions. Cripple them that way. Take your money out. And that's because right now I heard too that they're hurting right now. And I heard them on the radio for the first time asking for people to sign up. So they must be really desperate.
What is that, Goldman?
Goldman Sachs, yeah.
Yeah. So there's maybe a movement away from these huge banks. But if these banks remain huge, how do we get them to do something for the people without attacking? How do
They can't remain.
Stop creating.
The only thing they can do is break them up. Just like with Amazon, they need to be broken up at this point.
Okay. All right. Okay. So you don't believe in inspiring these huge capitalistic organizations. You believe in sort of attacking them in some way.
I believe in social democracy,
Right.
which is exactly FDR style democracy. I believe in the Bill of Rights too, which is really the entire progressive movement.
And when Biden says that he wants to do an FDR-type presidency, that doesn't resonate with you at all?
It sounds like plagiarism to me.
Plagiarism for Bernie?
Yeah, well, Bernie, of course, Bernie has been the FDR candidate all along.
But mainly with words. He's also taken money from the NRA. And I like Bernie. I think he's a good guy.
When did he take money from the NRA? How long ago?
I don't know.
It was like what, once? You got to remember, everything's not absolute, and you got to look at the scale of things. And the fact is, Biden has corruption, beyond even what I know, and I know a lot.
How do we do that? I mean, what if he didn't have corruption beyond what he ran? What I want to say to you is, and I just want you to digest this idea: Bernie doesn't own universal health care. Ted Kennedy fought for it. Hillary Clinton fought for it. Okay, these people really fought for it. He doesn't own these concepts. So a guy like Joe Biden, like my father...
He never says he owns it. He actually attributes the original to FDR.
Who does?
They all... FDR.
Yeah.
Roosevelt.
Yeah.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And just like Teddy Roosevelt wanted money out of politics, too.
Of course he did. And he was the original progressive. But returning to this, guys like Biden and guys like my father grew up worshiping FDR. So this whole idea that they would want to be like FDR, this is not owned by Bernie. He
never said he was.
Right.
And he never says it is either.
Good. Well, final question. Bernie is asking you with all of his heart, go out there and to raise $27 a donor for Joe Biden. What are your thoughts?
That's also a media spin too. Right. He did not say that you're responsible not to vote for Biden. He said it's irresponsible to not get involved.
Right.
So that's one of the twists that try to get, and actually did quite an upstir in the Bernie the Sanders sister community, but people got the truth, got out as far as what he actually said. So there was the other thing too is he was forced out. He did not do it by choice, and it's very evident. And So, you know, it was extremely evident. You know, you have Obama calling him, it was an article about it, calling him consecutively prior to him dropping out. And then
But like
Obama has a lot of power.
you know, but like Bloomberg's advisors telling Bloomberg to drop out, and he wanted nothing to do with dropping out. All that was really happening where people were saying to Bernie, this is not realistic. You don't have the delegates, and let's really beat Trump. So why do you feel he was that forced out? Why are you taking it upon yourself to say he was that forced out?
Well, it's the correlation between the Tara Reid story being released after had been existing for over a year, right after Obama has been making the calls, and also correlate, you know, also what he did calls prior to Super Tuesday, and then everyone else dropped out, including
Right.
Pete Buttigieg, whatever, Mayor Pete.
Right.
So, you know, so like I said, he was meddling in this primary, and quite honestly, the primary is not valid, you know. And like I said, I have no trust in the, you know, Democratic
But
party anymore.
politicians have the right to drop out when they think that their election is unrealistic, or they think that they're contributing to an unrealistic cause politically, meaning that they didn't think Bernie could beat.
Well, here's the question for you: why did the media talk about Tara Reid the day after Bernie dropped out? For the first time?
Probably because someone wanted to be damaging to Biden at that time.
Because they wanted to protect Biden, and they didn't want voters to know, and that's not being informing the voters, and that is being biased.
Right.
And
I thought they came out with Tara Reid after Bernie dropped out.
Tara Reid was been out for since 2019, and the major progressive media, which is, you know, not obviously on TV. It's mostly
I see what you're saying. They were protecting him before Bernie dropped out.
Exactly. And once they, you know, all these calls to Bernie, and then you know, Bernie drops out, then Tara Reid allegations can be addressed, and finally, you know, America can see what's been happening with that. So, you know,
so under Trump, you've seen a rise in sort of a kind of foaming at the mouth racism. Though under you know, you saw those police killings under Obama. You know, you're seeing people really become anti-gay, and you saw all this legislation that was legalizing gay marriage during the Obama period. You really don't see a tremendous difference between Biden and Donald Trump.
oh, of course I do.
Right.
I 100% do. That's why I've always advocated against Trump. You know, always advocated against Trump. I actually did vote for Clinton because of Trump. But like I said, they put the finger on the scale once. They did it again. They're not going to get my vote after doing that twice. And then to mention doing it and putting a candidate that's unfit mentally and then shouldn't be up there because of his, you know, the credible sexual allegations. Just like, you know, I showed you how Peter Dow came out with that tweet specifically about that issue, saying to drop out. And, you know, there's been others that have called for the same and called for Bernie to unsuspend. He only suspended his campaign. He didn't drop out either.
Right. All right. All fair enough. All fair enough. We'll see where you are on November 2nd with our follow-up interview. And
That's good.
Thank you.
Well, hopefully President Trump will be out of office in January, and President Sanders will be.
I understand completely. Thank you so much for talking to me. If you have any other Bernie people that you want to send my way on this journey, please do so.
Okay. Certainly. Thank you, my friend. Great talking.
Thank you as well, and I'll be back on Facebook fighting pretty soon. And I appreciate your passion for the you know, the American people.
Well, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to, you know, speak our minds, so that way you have our perspective.
My pleasure.
Where we stand, because we both are, you know, we have far more in common than we do have in differences, and the fact is we both, you know, want Trump out. We just have different ways of getting there. So
nice to talk, and I say the way is to vote for whoever the nominee is, but if you disagree, you disagree.
Most certainly.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you so much.